Have you ever looked at your bank account and felt that sinking feeling in your stomach? That moment when you realize there's more month left than money? I want you to know something powerful today. That feeling isn't your destiny, and your financial situation is about to change dramatically. What if I told you that the very reason you're struggling financially has nothing to do with the economy, your job, or your background, but everything to do with what's happening in your mind? Has this ever happened to you? You work harder and harder, follow all the conventional financial advice, and yet somehow the money just keeps slipping through your fingers? There's a reason for that. And it's not what you think. They don't want you to know this. Not your family, not your employers, not the system that profits from your scarcity. They need you to believe that wealth is scarce, that you must earn it, deserve it, compete for it. But I'm here to share what Florence Scovel Shinn, one of the greatest prosperity teachers of all time, revealed decades ago. There is no scarcity, there is only the belief in scarcity. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now let's get back to this life-changing information. This fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of abundance is precisely what keeps millions of people trapped in financial limitation. And today, I'm going to show you how to break free from it forever. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you, and it could be the single most important financial revelation of your life. You see, you are not a victim of the economy. You are not at the mercy of circumstance. As Florence Scovel Shinn revealed in her timeless wisdom, you are the operant power in your own life, imagining everything into being. If you're experiencing poverty right now, it's only because you didn't realize you were the one creating it through your imagination. Think about that for a moment. What if your financial reality isn't something that happens to you, but through you? What if the power to transform your bank account from empty to overflowing has been within you all along? The wealthy elite understand this principle. The financially free apply it every day, often without even realizing it. And now you're going to learn exactly how to harness this same creative force to manifest millions, not someday, not eventually, but starting right now. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract money effortlessly, while others struggle no matter how hard they work? The answer lies in understanding that your imagination is the most powerful financial tool you possess. And when you learn to direct it consciously, deliberately, with unwavering faith, the results can seem miraculous to those who don't understand the law behind them. What we're about to explore together isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. It's not about complex investment strategies or risky financial moves. It's about something far more fundamental, the consciousness that precedes all wealth, the inner state that must exist before the outer manifestation can appear. Tonight, I will wake you up to your own creative authority. And when you wake up, the dream of lack will dissolve. Millions will not appear. They will simply be revealed. You've been lied to, not maliciously perhaps, but you've been taught that wealth is something you chase, earn, or deserve. That if you work hard enough, long enough, smart enough, the money will come. This hidden truth is what most financial gurus never discuss. The fundamental revelation that your journey to wealth begins with a profound inner transformation, not an external strategy. When you awaken to your creative authority, something remarkable happens. The veil between you and abundance becomes transparent. You begin to see that the limitations were never in the world. They were in your perception of it. And maybe with hard work, the money does come. But maybe it doesn't. And in the meantime, you suffer. You worry. You feel less than. You watch others succeed and wonder what's wrong with you. You ask yourself, in the quiet hours of the night, why them? And not me? What do they have that I don't? And the answer you come up with always leaves you feeling smaller, more inadequate, more powerless. This is the mindset trap that keeps millions stuck in financial struggle. The false belief that wealth is a reward for labor rather than a reflection of consciousness. Think about it. We all know people who work incredibly hard yet remain broke, while others seem to attract money with minimal effort. What's the real difference? It's not work ethic. It's not intelligence. It's not even opportunity. The critical difference is in the decisions they make from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. It's in how they see themselves in relation to money. Those who struggle are trying to capture something they believe is outside themselves. Those who thrive understand that wealth is an expression of something already within them. You've been trying to change your outer world without first changing your inner world. You've been treating money as though it exists outside of you, something to be pursued, captured, claimed. But money is not external. It never was. Money is a symbol, a reflection, an echo of your own consciousness. And if your consciousness is rooted in lack, no amount of effort will produce abundance. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic, because understanding this principle will initiate a complete paradigm shift in how you relate to wealth. Imagine for a moment that you're watching a movie in a theater. You're so immersed in the story that you've forgotten you're watching projected light on a screen. You laugh, cry, and feel tension because the story seems so real. This is precisely what's happening with your financial reality. If this message resonated with you today, hit that subscribe button and join our community of conscious creators. I share powerful insights on wealth consciousness that could transform your financial reality. The images on your bank statement, the bills in your mailbox, the stress about money, these are projections of your consciousness onto the screen of life. The transformation begins when you turn around and recognize yourself as the projector, not just the viewer of these images. Write in the comments, "I am the projector, not just the viewer," if you're beginning to see how this revelation could change everything about your financial reality. You can work 18-hour days. You can apply every strategy, every tactic, every hustle, and you will still be poor because you are creating from poverty, not from wealth. This understanding will deliver something no financial guru, motivational speaker, or self-help book can give you. The revelation here is profound. It's not about what you do. It's about the state of consciousness from which you're doing it. Think of it like planting seeds. You can use perfect technique, the best soil, optimal sunlight, and water religiously. But if you're planting weed seeds, you'll never harvest roses. Your consciousness is the seed from which your financial reality grows. This journey of transformation begins with a simple but powerful shift in perspective. When you look at wealthy individuals, don't focus on their strategies or techniques. Observe their mindset, their assumptions about money, their relationship with abundance. Behind the scenes of every fortune lies a consciousness that assumed wealth before wealth appeared. The mystical understanding that Florence Scovel Shinn revealed decades ago is more powerful than any investment strategy or business plan. She taught that you are not in the world is in you. Your imagination is the only creative power. What you assume to be true becomes true, not because the universe rewards you, not because you've earned it or deserve it, but because consciousness is the substance of all form. The impact of this realization cannot be overstated. It means that wealth isn't something you pursue, it's something you embody. It means that abundance isn't something you achieve, it's something you express. It means that prosperity isn't something you earn, it's something you accept as your natural state. This is why conventional financial wisdom so often fails to deliver true abundance. It focuses entirely on external actions while ignoring the internal state from which those actions spring. It's like trying to fix a projector's image by manipulating the screen rather than adjusting the projector itself. When you understand this principle, everything changes. Opportunities that were invisible to you suddenly appear. Resources you didn't know existed become available. Pathways to wealth that seemed blocked open wide before you. Not because anything in the external world has changed, but because you're viewing that world through the lens of abundance rather than scarcity. I want you to consider something most people never realize. The decisions you make, the opportunities you see, and the actions you take are all filtered through your current state of consciousness. If that consciousness is rooted in lack, even golden opportunities will appear risky or flawed. But when that consciousness is anchored in abundance, even challenges reveal their hidden potential. Let me ask you this. Have you noticed how wealthy people seem to find money-making opportunities everywhere they look? It's not because those opportunities only exist for them. It's because they're looking through different eyes than you are. They're perceiving through a consciousness that expects abundance, that recognizes value, that assumes prosperity. Type new eyes in the comments if you're ready to see the world through the consciousness of wealth rather than the consciousness of lack. The core pain this addresses is not just poverty. It's the agony of feeling powerless, the exhaustion of trying and failing, the shame of not being enough, the quiet desperation that creeps in when you see another bill, another rejection, another closed door. It's the feeling that life is happening to you, not through you, that you are a leaf in the wind, tossed about by forces beyond your control. And I'm here to tell you, that is the lie. That is the great deception. And once you see through it, everything changes. This revelation strikes at the heart of what makes financial struggle so devastating. It's rarely just about the money. It's about the identity crisis that comes with it. The voice in your head that whispers, if I were smarter, more talented, more deserving, I wouldn't be in this position. It's about the barriers that seem to appear at every turn, confirming your deepest fears that perhaps you're simply not meant to thrive. The breakthrough comes when you realize these barriers aren't external at all. They're projections of your consciousness, manifestations of your assumptions about yourself and the world. Your financial reality is not random or cruel. It's a reflection of what you've been imagining into being, often without even realizing you were doing the imagining. On this transformative journey, you begin to see that the exhaustion doesn't come from fighting external circumstances. It comes from fighting against your own creative power. You've been using your imagination to create what you don't want, then using your willpower to fight against your own creation. No wonder you feel drained. No wonder nothing seems to change despite your best efforts. Think about the last time you checked your bank balance. Remember, that sinking feeling, that tightness in your chest? That wasn't just a reaction to numbers on a screen. It was your entire being responding to what those numbers seemed to say about your worth, your future, your place in the world. But what if those numbers weren't the cause of your feelings, but the effect of your consciousness? What if the path to millions isn't about changing your external actions first, but about changing the inner state from which those actions spring? This is the wisdom Florence Scovel Shinn shared with the world, a wisdom that liberates you from the cycle of struggle by showing you where the true power lies. When you stand firmly in this understanding, you no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances, of the economy, of bad luck or timing. Instead, you recognize yourself as the author of your experience, the creator of your reality, the architect of your financial future. And from this recognition comes a power that no external condition can diminish. This isn't about denying challenges or pretending problems don't exist. It's about seeing them for what they truly are, reflections of consciousness rather than independent realities. It's about understanding that when you change the consciousness, you change everything that flows from it. Drop "I am the author" in the comments if you're ready to claim authorship of your financial story, rather than feeling like a character trapped in someone else's plot. What makes this different from every other manifestation video you've watched? I will not ask you to visualize, affirm, or repeat hollow phrases. I will not tell you to raise your vibration or align with abundance. I will not give you a list of 10 steps or a 30-day challenge. I will teach you the ancient biblical mystical law that imagination creates reality. And I will show you step by step how to enter the state of wealth now so that your outer world has no choice but to reflect it. This revelation takes us beyond the surface-level manifestation techniques that have become so popular yet deliver such inconsistent results. Those approaches often treat wealth creation as a mechanical process. Do these exercises, repeat these words, follow these steps, and money will appear. But true transformation doesn't work that way. It's not about adding new actions to your life. It's about awakening to a deeper reality that has always existed beneath the appearance of lack. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this profound truth when she taught that our imaginative faculty is not just a mental tool, but the very creative substance of the universe expressing itself through us. When you grasp this, you move beyond techniques and enter the realm of being. You stop trying to manifest wealth and start embodying it. You will leave this understanding not with more hope, but with gnosis, direct knowing, the unshakable inner certainty that millions are not coming. They're already here. You've just been looking away. You've been staring at the shadow on the wall and calling it reality when the truth, the substance, the creative power has been within you all along. This journey is about removing the veil that has kept you from seeing what has always been yours. It's about recognizing that abundance isn't something you achieve through effort. It's your natural state that you've been trained to deny. The breakthrough moment comes when you realize you haven't been struggling to create wealth. You've been struggling against accepting the wealth that is already present in consciousness. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a dark room searching desperately for light, not realizing that you have the ability to illuminate the room yourself. You knock things over, bump into walls, grow increasingly frustrated, all because you're looking for something outside yourself that can only be found within. This is precisely what most people do with wealth. They search frantically in the external world, not realizing they possess the power to illuminate their financial reality through consciousness. Now, let me take you somewhere. Let me tell you about a time in my own life when I had nothing, not a dollar to my name. I stood in front of the mirror, exhausted, ashamed, and I asked myself, how long will you live like this? How long will you accept this poverty? How long will you be a beggar in your own mind? Share in the comments. I choose wealth consciousness. If you're ready to stop being a beggar in your own mind and claim the abundance that has been yours all along. And in that moment, I heard something. Not a voice, not an audible sound, but a knowing, a deep, silent conviction that rose up from somewhere beyond my conscious thought. It said, "You are still imagining yourself poor." And I didn't understand it at first. I looked at myself in the mirror, at my worn clothes, at the empty room behind me, and I thought, of course I'm imagining myself poor. I am poor. Look at my bank account. Look at my life. Look at the evidence all around me. How can I imagine differently when reality is staring me in the face? This is the crossroads where most people turn back. This is the revelation that tests your understanding of how reality actually works. The external world presents itself as so solid, so fixed, so undeniable that it seems absurd to imagine anything different. The empty bank account, the mounting bills, the financial pressure, they all scream that your situation is real, immovable, and beyond the reach of mere imagination. But the knowing persisted. It would not be silenced. It whispered again, "You are imagining it, and you can imagine differently." This is the pivotal insight that Florence Scovel Shinn emphasized throughout her work, that what we call reality is actually the effect, not the cause. Your current financial circumstances aren't creating your thoughts about poverty. Your thoughts about poverty created your current financial circumstances. The transformation begins with this radical inversion of cause and effect. Most of us have been taught that we feel poor because we are poor, that we worry about money because we lack money, that we imagine scarcity because we experience scarcity. But what if the arrow points in the opposite direction? What if we experience poverty because we first imagined it? What if our financial reality is the shadow, not the substance? This mindset shift creates a profound change in your relationship with your circumstances. Instead of seeing your empty bank account as evidence that you are poor, you recognize it as evidence of what you've been imagining. And if imagination created these conditions, imagination can create different ones. So I did something that felt absurd, even foolish. I closed my eyes right there in front of that mirror, and I imagined that I was already wealthy. Not in the future. Not after I got a job or a lucky break or some distant miracle. Right then, in that moment, standing in that empty room with nothing to my name, I imagined myself as a wealthy person. The journey from broke to prosperous begins with this counterintuitive step, acting as if the external evidence doesn't determine what's possible to imagine. It's about recognizing that the battle isn't won by changing your circumstances first. It's won by changing the consciousness from which those circumstances spring. It's about understanding that the universe doesn't dictate your imagination. Your imagination dictates the universe. If you're ready to take this first counterintuitive step, to imagine wealth despite external evidence of its absence, type "first step taken" in the comments below. I didn't visualize mansions or sports cars or any of the external trappings of wealth. I simply assumed the inner state of wealth. I felt what it would feel like to have millions in my account. I felt the relief, the freedom, the quiet confidence that comes when you know you are financially secure. I felt the absence of anxiety, the absence of fear, the absence of that gnawing, desperate need that had been my constant companion for so long. This distinction is crucial to understand. Most manifestation teachings fail because they focus on the external symbols of wealth rather than the internal state. They have you visualizing yachts and private jets and luxury homes, but those are just the outer expressions of wealth consciousness. They are the effects, not the cause. The true catalyst for transformation isn't in imagining things, but in embodying a state. When you embody the state of wealth, you experience a profound inner shift. Your shoulders relax, your breathing deepens. The constant background hum of financial worry fades away. You make decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. You see opportunities instead of obstacles. Your entire relationship with the world changes because you're engaging with it from a different level of consciousness. This revelation changes everything about how you approach financial abundance. It's not about affirmations or vision boards or writing checks to yourself. Those techniques might help, but they're training wheels at best if they don't lead you to the essential experience, the feeling state of already being wealthy. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this distinction perfectly when she taught that feeling is the secret, that the emotional tone of your consciousness is what determines what manifests in your life. She knew that trying to visualize wealth while feeling poor was a contradiction that couldn't produce results. The feeling must match the desire. I wore that feeling like a coat. I inhabited it. I lived in it, even if only for a moment. And that moment, that brief experience of wealth consciousness, became the seed from which my financial transformation grew. Because once you've felt it, truly felt it, you can return to it. You can strengthen it. You can expand it until it becomes your default state. Ready to continue this journey of abundance? Subscribe now to access more of these transformative teachings. Each video builds upon these principles of wealth that Florence Scovel Shinn revealed. The breakthrough in your financial journey comes when you realize this isn't about pretending or fantasizing or engaging in wishful thinking. This is about recognizing a profound metaphysical truth, that consciousness precedes manifestation, that feeling precedes form, that the inner state always gives rise to the outer condition. So ask yourself, what would it feel like if you were already financially free? Not what would you buy or where would you go, but how would you feel? What would it feel like to open your banking app without that knot of anxiety in your stomach? What would it feel like to make decisions without constantly calculating the cost? What would it feel like to move through the world knowing that you have more than enough? Type, "I feel wealthy." Now, in the comments, if you're willing to experiment with assuming this state of consciousness even for just 5 minutes today. And here's what happened. Nothing. Not immediately. I opened my eyes and I was still in that empty room. The bills were still unpaid. The bank account was still at zero. The outer world had not changed. And for a moment, I thought, see, this is foolishness. This is fantasy. This changes nothing. This moment of apparent failure is where most spiritual journeys end. This gap between inner assumption and outer manifestation is where doubt creeps in and convinces you to abandon the path. It's the testing ground of your new understanding, the crucible in which your transformation either dissolves or crystallizes. What I didn't realize then, what Florence Scovel Shinn understood so profoundly, is that there is always a gestation period between the inner shift and its outer expression. Just as a farmer doesn't plant seeds in the morning and expect a harvest by afternoon, we cannot expect our consciousness to instantly rearrange the physical world. The breakthrough happens first in the invisible realm of mind before it appears in the visible realm of matter. This is the hidden truth that separates those who succeed from those who remain stuck. The successful understand that persistence through this apparent gap is essential. They know that the absence of immediate external change doesn't mean the process isn't working. It means it's working exactly as it should beneath the surface, reorganizing the energy patterns that will eventually manifest as physical reality. Think about how a photograph develops in a darkroom. At first, there's nothing visible on the paper. Then slowly, gradually, an image begins to appear. If you were to panic after 10 seconds and throw the paper away, declaring the process a failure, you'd never see the image that was forming all along. This is precisely what most people do with their financial manifestations. They give up during the development stage, not realizing that their new consciousness is already creating, already working, already transforming their reality at a level they cannot yet see. But I persisted. Every night before I fell asleep, I returned to that state. I closed my eyes and I felt myself wealthy. I imagined scenes that would imply wealth. I imagined opening a bank statement and seeing a balance that made me smile. I imagined paying for something without checking the price. I imagined the feeling of ease, of abundance, of freedom. The resilience required during this phase isn't about forcing yourself to believe something against all evidence. It's about understanding the true sequence of creation, that consciousness leads and form follows, that the inner landscape always precedes the outer scenery. It's about recognizing that what appears as reality is actually just the harvest of seeds planted in consciousness days, weeks, or months ago. This paradigm shift in how you understand the relationship between mind and matter is the foundation of all genuine financial transformation. It's what Florence Scovel Shinn meant when she wrote about the game of life and how to play it. Understanding that the game is won first in consciousness, then in experience. If you're in that gap right now, feeling the state of wealth internally while still facing external lack, type "I persist" in the comments as your declaration of commitment to this transformative process. And I didn't just see these things in my mind, I felt them, I inhabited them, I made them real in consciousness. This distinction is crucial. I wasn't just passively watching mental movies of wealth. I was actively experiencing the emotional reality of being wealthy, letting that feeling saturate my entire being before drifting into sleep. This nighttime practice holds a special power because it occurs when the critical, analytical mind is beginning to soften. In those drowsy moments between wakefulness and sleep, your consciousness becomes more receptive, more impressionable. The barriers between your conscious and subconscious mind begin to dissolve, allowing your new assumptions to sink deeper into the fertile soil of your deeper mind. Florence Scovel Shinn recognized this when she taught her students to use the moments before sleep as a sacred time for impressing new patterns upon consciousness. She understood that sleep is not merely rest for the body. It's a transformative state during which your deepest assumptions about reality are either reinforced or revised. What happens during this process is nothing short of alchemical. As you consistently impress the feeling of wealth upon your consciousness, something remarkable begins to unfold in your waking life. Opportunities appear that have no logical explanation. Money comes from directions you never anticipated. An old debt is repaid. An unexpected check arrives. A door opens that you hadn't even known existed. And over the next few weeks, that's exactly what happened to me. The universe began reorganizing itself around my new state of consciousness. Not because I worked harder, not because I got lucky, but because I had changed the inner assumption. I had stopped imagining poverty and started imagining wealth, and the outer world, which is only ever a reflection of consciousness, had to conform. This brings us to a profound revelation about the nature of manifestation. The opportunities, resources, and pathways to wealth don't come to you because you've earned them, or because you've been given some cosmic reward for good behavior. They come to you because they were always there, always available, but invisible to your poverty consciousness. When you shift to wealth consciousness, you don't create new opportunities. You simply become able to see and seize the ones that were always present. Think of it like tuning a radio. The music doesn't begin broadcasting when you turn the dial. Those stations are always transmitting. You simply tune your receiver to pick up the frequency you want to experience. Your consciousness is the dial, and wealth is one of the frequencies always being broadcast. When you tune to it through your imagination and feeling, you begin to receive it. This is not magic. This is not wishful thinking. This is law, the law of assumption, the principle that Florence Scovel Shinn illuminated when she taught that your outer world is a precise mathematical reflection of your inner state. It operates with the certainty of gravity. It doesn't matter whether you believe in it, understand it, or acknowledge it. It's working every moment, translating your assumptions into experience. If you've experienced even a glimpse of unexpected financial flow after changing your inner state, share "The Law Works" in the comments to affirm this principle in action. Now I want to explore something that confuses many people on this journey of transformation. They ask, if consciousness is the only reality, why do I need to wait for the physical manifestation? If I have already assumed wealth in consciousness, why isn't the money in my bank account right now? Why is there a delay? This question reveals a fundamental misunderstanding about how the bridge between inner and outer reality works. The revelation here changes everything about how you approach manifestation. You see, there is no delay in consciousness. The moment you assume it, it is done. But the physical world operates in time, and time is the medium through which consciousness externalizes into form. Think of it like planting a garden. When you place a seed in the ground, that plant exists completely in potential form. All the information, all the blueprint, all the essence of what will bloom is contained within that seed. In consciousness, the garden is already complete. But in the physical realm, there is a natural sequence of germination, growth, and blossoming that must unfold through time. This framework revolutionizes how you understand your financial journey. The shift in consciousness is instantaneous. You can move from poverty thinking to wealth thinking in a moment. But the rearrangement of physical circumstances follows a divine sequence, a perfect timing that respects the interconnected nature of all things. Florence Scovel Shinn illuminated this principle beautifully when she explained that our demonstration, the physical manifestation, follows our realization, the inner knowing. First comes the inner acceptance, then the outer expression. The gap between them isn't evidence that the process isn't working, it's evidence that it's working exactly as designed. So there is a gap, a bridge between the inner assumption and the outer manifestation. And that gap is where faith is required. Not blind belief, not desperate hoping, but a calm, confident knowing that what has been established in consciousness must express itself in experience. This revelation transforms your entire approach to wealth creation. Instead of anxiously checking your bank account every hour after doing your inner work, you relax into the certainty that what you've planted in consciousness is already growing, already developing, already making its way to you through the necessary channels of expression. Behind the scenes of every manifestation is this perfect orchestration, the reorganization of people, circumstances, ideas, and opportunities that will deliver your assumed state into physical expression. The universe must rearrange itself to match your consciousness, and this rearrangement happens through time and space. The millionaire mindset isn't cultivated through impatience, but through unwavering trust in this process. It's the certainty that what you hold to be true in consciousness must, by law, materialize in your experience. Not because the universe rewards your positive thinking, but because consciousness is the one and only substance, from which all form is derived. If you've been wondering why your manifestations seem delayed despite your clear inner work, type divine timing in the comments to acknowledge this vital principle of creation. This is what the Bible means when it says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Faith is not blind belief. Faith is the inner knowing that what you have assumed in consciousness must manifest in form. It is the certainty that what is done within will be confirmed without. It is the patience to wait for the shadow to catch up to the substance. This perspective completely transforms how you navigate your financial journey. Most people operate from a paradigm of evidence then faith. Show me the money, then I'll believe I'm wealthy. But the masters of manifestation, like Florence Scovel Shinn, understood the true sequence is faith, then evidence. I know I am wealthy in consciousness, therefore the money must appear. This reversal of the conventional approach creates a profound shift in your experience. Instead of scanning the world for proof that you can be wealthy, you become the living proof of wealth consciousness from which physical abundance naturally flows. The inner certainty becomes more real to you than the temporary outer conditions. And here's the key. During that waiting period, you must continue to live from the end. You must continue to assume the state. You must continue to feel the wish fulfilled. Because if you abandon the assumption during the waiting period, you collapse the bridge, you interrupt the manifestation, you return to the old state, and you start the process over again. Think of it like this. Imagine you're driving from New York to Los Angeles. You've plotted your course, you've started your journey, and you're somewhere in the middle of the country. Los Angeles isn't visible yet, but that doesn't mean you're not on the way. It doesn't mean Los Angeles doesn't exist. It simply means you haven't completed the journey. Now, if you were to decide, I don't see Los Angeles, so it must not be real, and turn back to New York, you would never reach your destination. This is precisely what happens with financial manifestation. The blueprint has been established in consciousness. The journey has begun. The universe is rearranging itself to deliver your assumption into form. But if, during that process, you abandon your faith because you don't yet see the physical evidence, you interrupt the very manifestation you're trying to create. The wisdom of persistence cannot be overstated here. The decision to maintain your assumption despite contradictory evidence is what separates those who transform their financial reality from those who remain stuck in lack. This unwavering commitment to your inner knowing isn't stubbornness or delusion. It's profound understanding of how creation works. So persist. Have faith. Trust the law. Know that the moment you assumed it in consciousness, it was done. And the physical manifestation is simply the confirmation of what is already established within. The delay is not a denial. The delay is simply the time it takes for the outer world to rearrange itself to match your inner state. This revelation transforms waiting from an anxious, doubtful experience into a peaceful, expectant one. You're not wondering if your manifestation will come. You're simply observing the beautiful process of its unfoldment in divine timing. If you're committed to maintaining your wealth consciousness regardless of temporary external conditions, write, I trust the process, in the comments as your declaration of unwavering faith. Now I want to share with you one more story. It is about a man who had nothing. He was homeless, living on the streets, begging for food. And one day, he heard about this teaching. He heard that consciousness creates reality, that imagination is God, that what you assume to be true becomes true. And he decided to test it. This story illuminates the power of absolute conviction in the face of seemingly impossible circumstances. When we examine the transformative journeys of those who have moved from extreme poverty to abundance, we discover a common thread. They all understood that physical manifestation is merely the confirmation of what has already been established in consciousness. Every night before he fell asleep on the cold concrete, he imagined himself wealthy. He didn't imagine a little bit of money. He didn't imagine just getting off the streets. He imagined millions. He imagined a mansion. He imagined a life of complete financial freedom. And he felt it. He lived in it. He made it so real in his imagination that it became more real than his circumstances. The revolution in this approach is that he didn't wait for his conditions to improve before imagining wealth. He didn't say, "Let me first get a job, then an apartment, then some savings, and then I'll imagine being rich." He understood the principle that Florence Scovel Shinn taught, that the sequence begins with consciousness, not with circumstances. People thought he was crazy. They said, "Look at you. You're homeless. How can you imagine yourself as a millionaire?" But he didn't care what they thought. He knew the law. He knew that consciousness is the only reality. He knew that the outer world is just a shadow, and he persisted in his assumption. This resilience in the face of contradiction is what makes this journey so powerful. The willingness to trust the inner reality more than the outer appearance isn't delusion. It's the highest expression of wisdom. It's understanding that what we call reality is actually the effect, not the cause. And then one day, he overheard a conversation. Two businessmen talking about an investment opportunity, and something inside him stirred. An idea came, a knowing, and he approached them and shared his insight. They were impressed. They invited him to partner with them, and within a year, he was a millionaire. Within 5 years, he was worth over $100 million. Now the superficial observer might call this luck or coincidence. But those who understand the law of consciousness recognize the deeper pattern at work. The delay between his assumption and its manifestation wasn't a denial of his desire. It was simply the time required for the outer world to rearrange itself to match his inner state. The opportunity didn't create his wealth. Consciousness created the opportunity. This revelation transforms how you view the gap between your current financial circumstances and your desired abundance. That gap isn't evidence that the process isn't working. It's evidence that the process is unfolding exactly as it should. Share the word unfolding in the comments if you're beginning to see your current circumstances not as permanent reality, but as the bridge between your old state of consciousness and the new one you're cultivating. Now you might say that's luck. That's a coincidence. That's a 1 in a million chance. But I tell you, it was not luck. It was law. He assumed wealth in consciousness. He persisted in the state, and the outer world had to conform. The opportunity came because he was ready to receive it. The idea came because he was living from the state of wealth. And the success came because he never abandoned his assumption. What makes this story so powerful isn't just the dramatic transformation from homelessness to millions. It's the revelation that this man understood something most people miss: the importance of imagining the ultimate, not just incremental improvement. He didn't make the common mistake of calibrating his imagination to his current circumstances. Most people on this journey sabotage themselves with limited thinking. When faced with financial challenges, they imagine just enough to get by, just a little more than they currently have. If they're making $3,000 a month, they imagine making $4,000. If they have $500 in savings, they imagine having $1,000. This incremental approach actually reinforces the consciousness of limitation rather than transforming it. The breakthrough in your own financial revolution comes when you realize that imagining $1 million requires no more energy than imagining 1,000. The universe doesn't distinguish between what you consider realistic and unrealistic. It simply responds to the state you embody in consciousness. Thinking small is not humility. It's a misunderstanding of how consciousness creates reality. Florence Scovel Shinn recognized this when she taught her students to claim their good boldly, to declare their divine inheritance without hesitation or compromise. She knew that half-hearted assumptions produce half-hearted results, that tentative imaginings create tentative manifestations. The mindset shift that changes everything is embracing what seems like audacity, but is actually spiritual wisdom. When you're broke, imagine millions. When you're struggling, imagine complete freedom. When you're limited, imagine boundless abundance. Not because you're engaging in fantasy, but because you're aligning with the truth of what's possible when consciousness leads the way. Make your desired state so real in your imagination that it becomes more real than your current circumstances. This is the alchemy that transforms your entire financial landscape. When the inner vision becomes more vivid, more substantial, more convincing than the outer condition, the outer must eventually conform to match it. This revelation challenges everything you've been taught about realistic goals and practical thinking. The truly practical approach is to understand the creative power of consciousness and to use it deliberately, boldly, without the limitations imposed by current circumstances. Behind every great fortune, every financial empire, every abundant story is this fundamental truth. Someone dared to imagine beyond their circumstances. Someone made the decision to live from the end, to assume the state of wealth before there was any evidence to support it. And by persisting in that assumption, they activated the law that governs all manifestation. If you're ready to break free from incremental thinking and embrace the full power of your imagination, type unlimited in the comments as your declaration of financial freedom beyond all current limitations. This is what is possible for you. Not someday, not if you're lucky, but as a matter of law, as a certainty, as a guarantee. If you assume wealth in consciousness and persist in that assumption, wealth must manifest in your world. It cannot do otherwise, because consciousness is the only reality, and what you assume in consciousness becomes your reality in the world. When you begin this practice, you'll likely encounter resistance, not just from your own doubts, but from others around you. The people in your life may call you delusional, impractical, or disconnected from reality. They'll point to your current circumstances as proof that your assumption is foolish. But understand this: their perception is limited to the world of effects, while you're operating from the world of cause. The transformation in your journey comes when you recognize that their opinions, however well-intentioned, are irrelevant to the law you're activating. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this perfectly when she taught that what others think of your assumption doesn't matter in the slightest. The only thing that matters is your fidelity to the state you're claiming in consciousness. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about understanding what reality actually is. The bank statements, the bills, the financial pressures, these aren't the substance of reality. They're the shadows cast by previous states of consciousness. And just as a shadow has no power to create another shadow, your current circumstances have no power to determine your future unless you give them that power through your assumption. The wisdom in this approach is recognizing that as your consciousness shifts, your perception shifts with it. You begin to see opportunities where before you saw only obstacles. You recognize pathways to wealth that were invisible to your poverty consciousness. Ideas come, connections form, doors open. Not by chance, not by luck, but by the perfect operation of the law of assumption. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a dark room, convinced there's no way out. Then someone turns on a light, and suddenly you see 3 doors that were there all along. The doors didn't appear when the light came on. They were always present. You simply couldn't perceive them in the darkness. This is precisely what happens when you shift from poverty consciousness to wealth consciousness. The opportunities don't suddenly materialize. Your ability to perceive them does. This revelation challenges the conventional understanding of opportunity. Most people believe that opportunities are external events that either happen to you or don't, that they're a matter of luck or timing or being in the right place at the right time. But the deeper truth is that opportunities are expressions of your consciousness. They emerge naturally, inevitably from the state you occupy in mind. The breakthrough in your financial journey comes when you stop waiting for opportunities and start embodying the consciousness from which they naturally flow. When you live from the assumption of wealth, you become a magnet for the people, circumstances, and ideas that will bring that wealth into form. Not because you're manipulating reality, but because you're aligning with a reality that already exists in potential, waiting for your recognition. Drop the phrase, "I see opportunities everywhere" in the comments if you're beginning to perceive the world through the lens of abundance rather than scarcity. So I am asking you, right now, to make a commitment, not to me, to yourself, to your own creative power, to the God within you. Commit to assuming wealth. Commit to living from the end. Commit to feeling the wish fulfilled. And commit to persisting in that assumption no matter what the outer world shows you. For 30 days, for 60 days, for however long it takes, until the assumption hardens into fact, until the wish fulfilled becomes your lived reality. This commitment represents a fundamental shift in how you approach your financial journey. Most people operate from a paradigm of hope, hoping things will get better, hoping for a lucky break, hoping that somehow, someday, their circumstances will improve. But hope is a weak foundation for transformation. It places your financial destiny in the realm of chance rather than law. The mindset revolution that Florence Scovel Shinn revealed was moving from hope to certainty, from wishing to knowing, from chance to law. She understood that what appears as coincidence, or luck to the uninitiated, is actually the precise, mathematical operation of consciousness creating form. There are no accidents in manifestation, no random events, no lucky breaks. There is only the perfect correlation between your state of consciousness and your experience of reality. When you assume the state of wealth and persist in that assumption, the outer world must conform. Not because you've been chosen or favored, but because it cannot do otherwise. The opportunity comes not because you're lucky, but because you're ready to receive it. The idea emerges not by chance, but because it's the natural expression of your consciousness. The pathway appears not randomly, but as the inevitable manifestation of your assumed state. The decision to approach wealth from this perspective changes everything. Instead of scanning the horizon for potential opportunities, you become the consciousness from which opportunities naturally flow. Instead of trying to calculate your chances of success, you become the embodiment of success itself. Instead of hoping for good fortune, you become the very source of fortune. And I promise you, if you do this, if you truly commit to this, your life will transform. Not because of magic, not because of luck, but because of law, the law of consciousness, the law of assumption, the law that governs all creation. And that law is working for you right now in this moment, creating your reality from your assumptions. This understanding removes struggle from the equation. When you know with absolute certainty that your financial reality is a mathematical reflection of your consciousness, you stop fighting against external conditions and focus entirely on maintaining the state from which your desired conditions must emerge. The transformation becomes effortless because you're working with the law rather than against it. Think of it like this. You don't struggle to make gravity work. You don't hope that when you drop an object, it will fall. You know it will fall because gravity operates with mathematical precision every time. The law of assumption works with the same unwavering certainty. Assume the state of wealth, and wealth must follow, not as a reward, not as a blessing, but as the inevitable expression of the state you've embodied. If this perspective resonates with you, if you're ready to approach wealth creation as a matter of law rather than luck, write "law not luck" in the comments as your declaration of this new understanding. Now let me bring this teaching to its ultimate conclusion. Let me reveal to you the final secret, the secret that once understood makes everything else effortless. The secret is this: you are already wealthy. Right now, in this moment, you are already abundant. You already have everything you desire. Not in the future, not in some distant dimension. Right here, right now, in consciousness, the only place anything ever exists. This revelation represents the pinnacle of Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching, the understanding that what we seek, we already are. The entire journey of manifestation isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about accepting what you've always been. It's not about acquiring what you lack. It's about expressing what you inherently possess. The only reason you don't experience wealth in the physical world is because you keep assuming you don't have it. You keep looking at the empty bank account and saying, "I am poor." You keep focusing on the lack and creating more lack. You keep living from the old assumption instead of the new. But the wealth is already here. The millions are already yours. The abundance is already present. Think about the profound transformation this understanding creates in your approach to financial abundance. Most paths to wealth focus on acquisition, getting more, achieving more, accumulating more. But this path focuses on recognition, seeing what's already present, accepting what's already given, embracing what's already yours. All you have to do is claim it. All you have to do is assume it. All you have to do is stop denying it and start affirming it. Stop rejecting it and start receiving it. Stop pushing it away and start pulling it in. This shift in perception changes everything because it removes struggle from the equation. You're no longer fighting to become wealthy. You're simply accepting the wealth that is your natural state. This is the great paradox, the great mystery, the great truth. You are already what you seek to become. You already have what you desire to receive. You are already living in the kingdom. You just don't know it yet. You are asleep to your own wealth, blind to your own abundance, deaf to your own creative power. But now you are waking up. Now you are beginning to see. Now you are starting to hear. And as you wake up, as you open your eyes, as you listen to the truth, you will realize, I am wealthy. I have always been wealthy. I was just imagining poverty. I was just assuming lack. I was just living in the dream of limitation. The impact of this awakening cannot be overstated. It's like discovering that you've been wearing glasses with dark lenses your entire life, believing the world was dim and colorless, only to remove them and see the vibrant reality that was always there. The brightness doesn't come into being when you remove the glasses. It was always present. You simply remove what was blocking your perception. If you feel something stirring within you as I speak these words, a recognition, a remembrance of your true abundant nature, type "I am awakening" in the comments to mark this moment of transformation in your consciousness. But the dream is over. The sleep is ending. And the truth is being revealed. You are God. You are consciousness. You are the creator. And you are wealthy beyond measure. Not because you earned it, not because you deserve it, but because that is your nature. That is what you are. Wealth is your birthright. Abundance is your inheritance. Freedom is your destiny. The transformation in your financial reality begins with this profound shift in identification. Most people identify with their current circumstances, the empty bank account, the mounting bills, the financial pressure. They look at these conditions and declare, "This is me, this is my reality." But Florence Scovel Shinn revealed a more powerful truth, that you can choose to identify with the wealthy being you already are in consciousness, regardless of temporary external conditions. Your focus becomes your experience. Whatever you place your attention on expands in your reality. When you consistently focus on lack, you create more lack. When you habitually check your account balance with anxiety, you perpetuate the experience of financial insecurity. When you worry about money, you manifest more situations that justify that worry. This revelation completely changes your relationship with your current financial circumstances. Instead of seeing them as fixed reality, you recognize them as the manifestation of where your attention has been in the past. And if past focus created present circumstances, present focus will create future circumstances with the same mathematical precision. The journey from broke to wealthy isn't about changing external conditions first. It's about redirecting your focus from what is to what could be, from the shadow to the substance, from the effect to the cause. When you consistently place your attention on the wealth you already possess in consciousness, that wealth must eventually express itself in your experience. Think of it like watering plants in a garden. Whatever you water grows, whatever you neglect withers. When you focus on lack, you water the weeds of poverty. When you focus on abundance, you nourish the flowers of prosperity. And this isn't metaphorical. It's the literal mechanism through which consciousness manifests as experience. The decision to redirect your focus represents the turning point in your financial story. Instead of being hypnotized by current conditions, you maintain your gaze on the wealth consciousness that is your true nature. Instead of accepting the limitations suggested by your bank statement, you affirm the unlimited abundance that is your birthright. And now, in this moment, you are claiming it. You are assuming it. You are living it. This isn't about future manifestation. It's about present recognition. The millions aren't coming someday. They're already here in consciousness. The abundance isn't waiting to appear. It's already present as your true state of being. The freedom isn't something to achieve. It's your natural condition once you remove the self-imposed limitations of false identification. The catalyst for this entire transformation is the willingness to see beyond appearances, to recognize the deeper reality that exists beneath the surface of things. Just as a projector casts images on a screen, your consciousness projects your assumptions into your experience. Change the slide in the projector, and you change what appears on the screen. If this perspective is shifting something fundamental in your understanding of wealth, type "I am the wealth I seek" in the comments to affirm this new identity as your own. So go forth from this teaching with absolute certainty, with unwavering faith, with complete conviction. You are wealthy. The millions are yours. The abundance is present, and the outer world is already rearranging itself to reflect your new assumption. It is done. It is finished. It is already so. And all you have to do is persist in the knowing until the evidence appears. This perspective creates a fundamental shift in how you approach your financial journey. Most paths to abundance are based on acquisition, getting something you don't have, becoming something you're not, achieving something in the future. But the path Florence Scovel Shinn revealed is based on recognition, seeing what you already have, accepting what you already are, expressing what's already present. The paradox that transforms everything is this: you don't need to become wealthy because you already are wealthy in consciousness. You don't need to attract abundance because you already are abundance in essence. You don't need to manifest prosperity because prosperity is your natural state, simply waiting for your recognition. This revelation changes your entire approach to financial transformation. Instead of striving, pushing, and struggling to create wealth, you simply align with the wealth that already exists within you. Instead of trying to get what you don't have, you express what you already possess. Instead of becoming what you're not, you accept what you've always been. Think about how this shifts the energy behind your financial journey. There's an enormous difference between the desperate energy of seeking and the peaceful energy of finding, between the anxious energy of wanting and the grateful energy of having, between the tense energy of becoming and the relaxed energy of being. When you truly grasp that you already have what you seek, the entire process becomes effortless. You're no longer pushing against reality. You're flowing with it. You're no longer fighting for wealth. You're expressing wealth. You're no longer trying to become abundant. You're allowing the abundance that is your nature to manifest in your experience. And when the millions show up in your account, when the opportunities flood in, when the abundance becomes undeniable, you will look back on this moment and smile. You will remember the day you discovered the truth, the day you awakened to your creative power, the day you stopped being a beggar and became a king, the day you stopped waiting for wealth and started being wealth. This understanding doesn't invalidate action. You'll still take steps, make decisions, pursue opportunities, but these actions will spring from a completely different consciousness. Instead of acting from lack to get wealth, you'll act from wealth to express wealth. Instead of making decisions from scarcity, you'll make decisions from abundance. Instead of pursuing opportunities from need, you'll attract opportunities from fullness. The breakthrough comes when you realize that the millions you seek are not outside you waiting to be acquired. They are within you, waiting to be expressed. They are not separate from you. They are the natural extension of who you already are in consciousness. And when you live from this understanding, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it back to you in the form of tangible, visible, spendable wealth. If this paradox is beginning to make sense to you, if you're starting to see that what you've been seeking has been within you all along, type "The kingdom is within" in the comments to affirm this profound truth. This is your moment. This is your turning point. This is where everything changes. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, in this eternal present moment, you are wealthy. Feel it, know it, live it, and let the world confirm what you have already claimed within. The kingdom is yours. The wealth is yours. The power is yours because you are God, and God is wealthy always, forever, in all ways. When you fully embrace this awakening, something profound shifts at the core of your being. The revelation that you aren't working toward wealth, but rather removing the blocks to the wealth that already exists within you changes everything. Most people spend their entire lives trying to acquire what they believe they lack, not realizing that the very belief in lack is what keeps abundance at bay. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this divine paradox perfectly. She taught that we don't need to struggle, strive, or strain to become wealthy. We simply need to awaken from the dream of limitation and claim our rightful inheritance. Think of a prince who was abandoned as a child and raised by peasants. He lives in poverty, works the fields, struggles daily, not because that's his true identity, but because he's forgotten who he really is. His transformation doesn't begin when he acquires the trappings of royalty. It begins in the moment he remembers his true identity. This is the hidden truth behind every genuine financial breakthrough. It's not about becoming something new, it's about remembering something ancient. It's not about getting something you don't have. It's about expressing something you've always possessed. The journey isn't from poverty to wealth, it's from amnesia to remembrance. When you claim wealth as your birthright, rather than something you must earn or deserve, you liberate yourself from the endless cycle of proving your worth. Most financial teachings keep you trapped on the hamster wheel of achievement. Work harder, get smarter, do more, be better. But Florence Scovel Shinn revealed a more powerful path. Recognize who you already are, claim what's already yours, express what's already within you. The impact of this realization goes far beyond money. It transforms your entire relationship with life itself. Instead of seeing yourself as a beggar, hoping for crumbs from the universe's table, you recognize yourself as the heir to infinite abundance, the natural recipient of all good, the rightful inheritor of prosperity in all its forms. This awakening is what sets you free, not the millions in your bank account, not the material possessions, not the financial security. These are just the outer expressions of an inner knowing. The true liberation comes from recognizing that you were never bound in the first place, that the limitations were self-imposed, that the poverty was a dream from which you're now awakening. And now in this moment, as these words resonate through your consciousness, something is stirring within you, a remembrance, a recognition, a return to your true identity as a being of infinite wealth, unlimited abundance, and boundless prosperity. This isn't new information, it's ancient memory. It's not something you're learning for the first time, it's something you've always known at the deepest level of your being. If these words are awakening something deep within you, a recognition of your true abundant nature, type "I remember who I am" in the comments below. Now I want to share with you a powerful practice that will anchor this teaching into your daily experience. It's what Florence Scovel Shinn called living in the end. This isn't something you do occasionally or whenever you remember. It becomes your default state, your natural way of being in the world. It's how you move through each moment of each day, regardless of what external circumstances might suggest. When you wake up in the morning, before your feet touch the floor, feel the gratitude of already being financially free. When you shower, feel the luxury of abundance flowing over and through you. When You eat breakfast? Savor it as a wealthy person would. Not rushed, not worried, but present and appreciative. As you drive to work or go about your day, move through the world as someone who is already wealthy beyond measure. The catalyst that makes this practice so powerful is consistency. Most people dip in and out of wealth consciousness. They feel abundant when things are going well, then slip back into poverty consciousness at the first sign of a challenge. They oscillate between faith and doubt, between certainty and fear, between knowing and questioning. This inconsistency creates mixed signals in consciousness and therefore mixed results in experience. But when you stabilize in wealth consciousness, when you refuse to be moved from your certainty regardless of appearances, the entire universe begins to reorganize itself around your unwavering assumption. The decisions you make, the words you speak, the actions you take, all begin to align with this new identity. And because these outer expressions flow from your new inner state, they naturally create results that match that state. Think of it like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, it requires conscious effort. You wobble, you fall, you get back up. But eventually, the balance becomes second nature. You no longer have to think about it. You just ride. This is what happens with wealth consciousness. At first, you might need to consciously return to it whenever you notice yourself slipping into old patterns. But eventually, it becomes your natural state, your default mode of being. And when the millions appear in your account, when the opportunities flood in, when the abundance becomes undeniable, you will look back on this moment and smile. You will remember the day you discovered the truth, the day you stopped being held captive by external appearances, the day you claimed your divine inheritance, the day you stopped waiting for wealth and started being wealth. This isn't just a teaching, it's an invitation to a completely different relationship with money, abundance, and your own creative power. It's a doorway into a reality where limitation is recognized as the dream and abundance as the waking state. It's the revelation that Florence Scovel Shinn spent her life sharing, that you already possess everything you could ever want or need, waiting only for your recognition and acceptance. If you're ready to step through this doorway and claim the wealth that is already yours, type I accept my inheritance in the comments as your declaration to the universe. And you know, if you've stayed with me all the way to this point, I want you to know that I see you. I recognize the part of you that is awakening to your true abundant nature. This isn't just another video you've watched. It's a sacred moment of recognition between your current self and your wealthy self. If this message resonated with you, if you felt something stir within as we explored these timeless principles that Florence Scovel Shinn revealed, I'd love for you to be part of our community of conscious creators. Subscribe to join us on this journey of transformation. Each week, we delve deeper into these principles, exploring different aspects of the creative power that lies within you. The fact that you're here right now, listening to these words, that's not a coincidence. That's your wealth consciousness already awakening, already drawing you to the very teachings that will help it fully express. If you felt that connection, simply hit the like button as a silent acknowledgement between us, a recognition of the truth we've shared today. And I'd love to know you made it to the end of this journey with me. Type, I am the wealth I seek in the comments below as your declaration to the universe and to yourself that you're stepping into this new understanding right now. Right next to this video, you'll find another exploration of these principles that builds beautifully on what we've discussed today. It reveals the specific daily practice that anchors wealth consciousness into your everyday experience. Click on it when you're ready to deepen this awakening that's already begun within you. I'll meet you there, and we'll continue this journey together.